Joining us is a true pioneer at the intersection of technology and human imagination. It's Dr. Maya Ackerman. Maya is a world-renowned expert in generative AI and the author of the new book, Creative Machines. Maya has dedicated her career to exploring how artificial intelligence can shape music, art, and yes, the very way we think. We're going to talk all about this. Welcome to the show, Dr. Ackerman.
So great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is such an honor. You have been a pioneer in the field long before AI became a daily headline. What sparked the massive investment wave in AI that we're seeing right now? And how does it differ from the early creative machine research groups?
So interestingly, what really sparked the investment community to wake up to Gen AI was a company called Stability AI, which raised at the end of 2022. And that's when I noticed that all the investors around me suddenly wanted to talk about nothing except Gen AI, because I was running a company at the time in the Gen AI space. And it really showed me how powerful that segment of society is, that they ultimately get to decide not only what gets funded, but also how technology gets to manifest in the world. Because the way that we're seeing Gen AI play out today is not how my research community was developing it and imagining it in the world. So that's a really key distinction.
Absolutely. In your book, you discuss machine hallucinations. For a business owner using these tools, are these errors something to be feared, or do we actually want machines to make certain types of mistakes?
Well, the way that both ourselves and machines think, and what makes the current wave of AI so powerful, is that we think by imagining. We think by imagining what's going to come next, and sometimes trying to guess what it's going to be, and sometimes trying to intentionally envision an alternative reality. And while we know as human beings that you can't have a creative, interesting sort of leader who's inventing something new without the possibility of error, we're still learning that it's the same thing with machines. Mm-hmm. If we're going to have machines that are creative, that can really help us solve a challenging business challenge or come up with an interesting new piece of art or music, we have to accept that errors and mistakes are just part of the game.
I'm chatting with AI expert, that's Dr. Maya Ackerman. Maya, I've got a kind of a weird question. We often use these two letters, AI, and we talk about it like it's a cold, logical tool. But you actually ask if AI can ever be moody. How does the concept of machine personality or mood actually affect the way we interact with these systems?
I think we need to appreciate that AI is no longer sort of a rule-based system that can predictably and perfectly give us something that another person coded in. The machines now are much more fundamentally imaginative and creative than ever before. And in some cases, we've seen researchers intentionally try to give a machine a mood. So for example, Simon Colton had a system called the Painting Fool that would try to kind of endow a fake mood into the way that it would paint you. And sometimes it would be so upset that it would refuse to paint you altogether. And that really makes us ask, does it matter? And in what context does it matter whether a machine is like us, whether it can be moody like a human artist?
Absolutely fascinating. What's the meaning of integrity in the age of AI? We delegate so many creative and strategic tasks to machines, but how do we ensure our own human ingenuity doesn't get lost?
I believe that a really key component here is how we understand the AI. Too often, people think of the AI almost like a godlike creature, an all-knowing oracle. And then when it's wrong, or when it leads us down the wrong path, or when it leads people into psychosis, we're sort of shocked and angry at the AI or its makers. But just like any mind, the machine is flawed, and the flaws don't make it worthless and don't make it discardable. So by relating to the machines in a way that acknowledges their shortcomings, acknowledges that it's just a brain that is different from ours, but is not superior to us, we maintain the agency, we maintain the responsibility. And I believe it's really critical that we stay believers in our own creativity and our own ingenuity. And that's really how we move forward, through this by adjusting our belief system to better match reality.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm chatting with Dr. Maya Ackerman, world-renowned expert in generative AI and the author of the new book, Creative Machines. So, Maya, we're going to have to cut to break in a minute, but before we do that, can you tell us what's the premise of the book? Who needs to read this this important book, and why is it so relevant in 2026?
I originally wrote the book for people who are interested in maintaining human creativity. So a core thesis goes around humble creative machines, a way to utilize them and build them in a way that will profoundly elevate human creativity, even as AI creativity continues to increase. But ultimately, as I wrote it and I've been talking about it, I realized that the book is for anybody who cares about where AI is going, who's building AI and who's using AI, and who cares about humanity and wants a practical path forward that keeps humanity ahead.
Maya, this is absolutely fascinating and so timely. We often, again, as I've emphasized over and over again over the past few minutes, we often talk about AI, and it's become so much a part of our lives, whether personally, professionally, academically, so many different things. And you've been exploring this topic long before it was cool and long before it became part of our vocabulary. Maya, you've studied the importance of artificial neural networks. In layman's terms, artificial neural networks. What was the specific breakthrough in these networks that finally allowed AI to move from simple data processing to true creative acts?
Well, we've been developing these systems for literally decades. People in the previous century, even around the time of Turing, were already shortly afterwards conceptualizing the idea of creating a machine with neurons and connections between them. The problem that we didn't have enough power. And then as we got more and more power and we were able to build bigger and bigger brains, we got things like Netflix and Spotify to recommend movies and songs that we would like. But kind of the last piece of it, the part that OpenAI did that was so amazing, was not inventing a new kind of academic idea. It was simply convincing Microsoft to make a massive investment, which let them build the biggest machine brain in history. And that's where some of the biggest recent breakthroughs come from.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And ChatGPT, again, a tool that so many of our listeners are, very, very familiar with. It has an incredibly high retention rate compared to other tools and technology that has been out there. Beyond the novelty, what do you say is the psychological brilliance behind ChatGPT and OpenAI that keeps people coming back?
I think people think that it's because it's so good at answering questions and being right, kind of like a search engine. And that's where a lot of industry is putting a lot of money. But I believe that's what's making people come back over and over again, is that it actually helps us become better. That's what kind of the power users of ChatGPT do. They use it as a humble creative machine. They use it to make themselves smarter. And they come up with these processes that are actually kind of involved and do a lot of back and forth. So that's the power. Technology that makes us smarter, and the people who can leverage it in this way is really the power of this new movement.
Maya, I've got the $1 million question over here. And the crazy thing is that we only have 2 minutes to explore it. What's the future of AI? Where do you see things going in terms of not only the development of AI, but also the debate around the ethics on so many levels? Where do you see things going with your crystal ball?
What a fantastic question. There are two paths. One path replaces a ton of human labor and leads us to poverty and even hunger and an enormous gap between the haves and the have-nots. And some of that, unfortunately, we're seeing some of that unravel right now, and it's terrifying. And it's very, very bad, obviously. But the other opportunity here, and I really, really hope to see more and more people wake up to that, is to recognize that there's an invitation here to reassess our values as a society and to sort of reconnect with what makes us human, our instincts, our animal nature, our temporary time here on Earth, and that we are good enough as is, that we don't need an all-knowing oracle telling us what's true. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, to use machines, to let these machines develop, to not be scared of that, but to use them, to apply them in a way that frees us from unnecessary labor, that lets us spend more time on being human, and actually, and that's the part that's very little known, actually use these machines to make our human brains smarter and more creative, because we are not done evolving. There's a lot more human creativity and human intelligence to be discovered.
Maya, I've loved our conversation, and I know this topic we're going to continue to explore, and I can't wait to bring you back on real soon. But perhaps the most important homework assignment that I could give our listeners is to find the book Creative Machines and get in touch with you. How can they do so?
The best way is simply Amazon or pretty much anywhere else where books are sold. Creative Machines, AI, Art, and Us is widely available. And if you'd like to connect with me, my most active social media is LinkedIn. Type Maya Ackerman, and I'm very easy to find there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Maya. Really appreciate you coming on the program. And thank you to all of our guests who have joined us today. What a fascinating show. We're really kicking off 2026 with a bang. As always, be sure to check out our sponsor, Tom Marabali, for all things health insurance, the Affordable Care Act. We know you have questions for your business and for your family. Check out healthplanchicago.com for all of your health insurance needs. That's our wrap for us this week on Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Indeed, to success, let's get down to business.